Hi.
Hello. Good afternoon. Hey, Steve. Hey, Adrian. Hey, Elise.
Hey.
Paul.
Hi, here we come.
Hi,
See
Marcia.
faces.
Hi, Mark. Can't see everybody's.
Hello.
Hey, Marcia.
Hey, baby.
How are you?
Good. I haven't seen you for ages.
I know. Good to see you and everyone else. Great to see everyone.
Yeah, welcome to the coffee chat.
Thank you.
Hi, Robin. I can see you on the phone. Can you admit people on the phone, Jane, as well?
Yeah, hang on with the way to
keep admitting people because I get confused when I'm doing three things. Sweet baby Jeebus, I'm not asleep. I love that. Hey, Kim. All right.
Hi, Kim.
Hello, lovely.
Hey. So
Love the background.
Mark's
Thank you.
Mark's in his bar again. I love it. I'm coming. I know it's like that whole Zoom background, right? I was trying to figure that out the other day. You have to have a backdrop, and I was like, I am not good at doing.
Yeah, we have this for our team meetings because we sometimes have them after hours as a build. So we do occasionally imbibe. Of course, we're a cannabis company, so we could do a lot more than that. But we tend to have a spritzer or two. But we had this one for a while.
That's funny.
Wow.
That's COVID-19.
Yeah.
That just causes people anxiety, you know.
Yeah. So we wanted something a little bit more relaxing. So we picked the bar. I had this one for the longest time. I think on the first chat.
Yeah, we hadn't seen that one.
Yeah.
Just makes me mad, probably.
Yeah. All right. So in the essence of time, we're going to
go.
Going. So I'm going to ask you guys to mute yourself until we get to the chat, so that it just keeps the connection clear, because it gets a bit wobbly when there's too many people off mute and it gets echoey. So I'm going to keep it that way. And then really excited to have you guys back. So some of you are joining us for the first time. So welcome to Retail Use Coffee Chat. And some of you have come back. So that's a good thing. So it's nice to see your smiling faces back in the middle of the beginning of the week. Jane's on. She's going to be our moderator. She's my partner in crime at Retail U. It worked really well last week. She's going to take your questions from the chat. If the group doesn't get too much bigger, we can always unmute and ask questions anyway, because it's about 12 people on right now, so not too big, which is awesome. And I have an amazing guest on today, which is Emily Salsbury-Deveaux from Emmy-Deveaux. Really excited to have you on and pick your brain and ask questions. And she's got a very unique story and a unique offering, I think, which is awesome, that we're going to learn more about. Hi, Karen. Welcome back. Just so you join. If you have questions, feel free as we're talking to start putting them in the chat, because when we get to that, Jane will be able to ask us those questions and we'll be able to discuss and just give you an answer. So super excited to be here. And really the intention, if you've been here before, you know, but if you haven't been here before, it's to have that nice, inspiring, fun, happy retail connection in your week. Maybe you're missing that from not being, you know, in the stores, talking to people. So it's just getting some like-minded people to come together. So really happy to see you all. So Emily, I'm going to start off with asking you to introduce yourself. And before you do that, actually, I'm sporting your blazer. I am a blazer girl, and I haven't been able to wear one since I've been in my house because I'm living in Lululemon's. But today I was like, okay, I'm putting the Emmy-Deveaux blazer on for the coffee chat today, so I'm sporting it. But if you can introduce yourself, who you are, what you do.
Sure. I'll be hear me okay, I hope. By the way, best fitting blazer on the market, hands down. My name is Emily Salsbury. I launched this brand 2 years ago after working as a retail and real estate consultant. So I actually started my company when I was 16. And that's kind of a unique story in itself, how that happened. From client to client to client, and next thing you know, it's like 20 years later, I'm working for the University of Alberta, running the School of Retailing. as the executive director, never gone to school. So I've always had imposter syndrome when it comes to like, are you serious? You want me to take this job? I spent 5 years there. I loved it. But anybody who loves retail as much as I do knows that when businesses are starting to close, time for a brand to pop up. So that's when I decided that it was a good time to launch the brand. So I said, take your 6-figure job and love it. Not like that, and I started it.
I think that's fascinating what you just said about the imposter syndrome. I can totally relate to that because I didn't go to the traditional route of doing university. College. I moved out of home at 16 and got a job in a retail store, and then 25 years later was still in it. And so I always felt like as I moved up into more roles, like, why are they giving me this job? Like when I didn't have like this formal education on it. So I totally appreciate what you're saying when you say that and really relate to it.
They wanted me, I was supposed to have a PhD. I was 30 and I just thought they were joking, and honestly, it was the greatest 5 years of my life. The program is funded by retailers, so it was funded by companies like David's Tea and H&M and all these amazing partnerships.
So we have a tradition here because I'm a big person on asking questions. That's why we're here today, because we're asking lots of questions. But whenever I do workshops with people live, I have like these little question cards that I take around with me, and I ask people questions because I always believe you only get answers to the questions you ask. And a lot of us aren't really good at asking really good questions. So I think it's a skill that you learn along the way. So we're going to start off with 2 kind of like icebreaker questions, just personal questions, and then we'll get into everything about your brand and your story and what you're doing now and all that kind of stuff. So first question I want to ask you, and you don't know what question I'm going to ask you. So let's see. If you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be with and why?
You know, that was like an answer. There aren't a lot of people that I would sit there and say that I want to learn, tell me everything you know. It would really probably have to be Richard Branson for me, and that's just because he's so passionate about culture, and I would say probably most area of improvement. And so just to be inspired to become the best leader I could, just by spending time with him and his team, that's probably going to be my choice.
That's a good one.
Incredible cultural leader for sure. So
yes, and I follow him and follow his posts, and a lot of his quotes actually we put in some of our training, because he's all about train people, you know, treat them really well and then train them that they can go work somewhere else, which I totally buy into, right? Because then people won't want to leave you. Awesome. All right, do you have a question for me?
I like this one because almost on a daily basis of how do you want to be remembered?
Oh, that's a good one. I want to be remembered as somebody who added value to others. That's it. That's all I want to be remembered for. Added value to others. That's it. So that's what drives us at Retail U every day. Like, how can we keep adding value? And that's how this coffee chat came about. Somebody said to me, April, you should do a Retail U coffee chat. And we were like, what? We've never done that before. Like, okay, let's try. And now we're on the 4th week. So hopefully this is adding value to everybody on the call. Awesome. All right. I can see more people joining. So Jane can take care of that. And you can keep, asking questions as we're going through this. So some of the questions I had kind of thought about, like when I was thinking about what do I really want to ask you? Because like your story is so unique. I met you probably 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when I came to Edmonton, and I was super impressed with everything you're doing. So tell us like what your mission is with your brand, because it's very unique compared to any other retailer I've ever seen, actually. So if you can share a bit about that and like anything else you want to talk to us about your brand and, your mission and what you're doing and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I think it's important that we talk about some of the innovative things that we're doing, because it is literally going to change what retailers look like. Now, not everybody can do what we're doing. I understand that. Mission, first and foremost, is to exceed expectations. Like, I'm very passionate. I'm not so much money motivated as I am impressing the shit out of people when it comes to their orders, the quality of the clothes, constantly getting feedback from customers about how impressed they are and that we have the greatest service. And that's really what drives us at the end of the day, to be completely honest. And we're just a small but feisty business. So
Yeah.
like, we're small in size, but larger in revenue. And we work really hard to build loyalty with our customers. So we have we have customers that own every piece that I've ever designed, which blows my mind.
Wow. That's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's crazy. When we started, I put about $70,000 into the company. I had done a huge project for the Calgary Public Library, and I had some money left, and I thought, I'll just put some money into it. But we weren't eligible for any bank loans at that time because there was a little bit of a retail recession at the time. Nobody wanted to give us money without me signing a personal guarantee. And I just have one rule in business when it comes to real estate, or when it comes that I will never on my business.
Say that
Which is
can you repeat that? Because I lost you in the Zoom call. Say that again. You had one rule in business. I want to really hear that.
Sign a personal guarantee. So I've never signed, even with my lease here, personal guarantee on my business, which coming into times like right now is a really smart move. But we still needed a way to fund inventory because we design everything. So we launched something that we've just recently trademarked called Fund It, which is an internal crowdfunding system where our customers essentially vote with their money what they want to have made. And that has been...
What do you mean they vote with their money? I don't understand that.
They purchase the product, and we have to sell at least 10 to 15 units of each product before it goes to production.
Wow.
So it's really interesting because we just focused on such high quality designs, and people love it. Like, we've funded 40 products now through Fund It. Kim, who's on the call right now, knows all about Fund It because she's about to ship 2 of her Fund It items today, I believe. And so that's exciting. And it's just been synonymous with our brand. We never expected it to become one of those things that we would continue to do constantly as we grow, but it's become such a big part of who we are. And from the back end, right away, how quickly something is popular, how quickly it will sell. And so that contributes to our commitment to no inventory waste.
So your commitment is to having no inventory, like,
that's right.
Really, right? Which is fascinating as well, after me working in retail for so many years. And like, one of the biggest challenges I think today is like supply chain and inventory management and margins and all that kind of stuff. So fascinating that you've been able to actually figure that out. Why have you figured that out and nobody else has?
You know what? It all starts with the product design. Like, it absolutely starts with, is incredible. I mean, you're wearing a blazer that is super structured, but completely stretch on the inside. The sleeves are stretched, so it's incredibly comfortable. And I think it confuses people, but it's also just by design. Like, we design products that are really meant to be comfortable for people who work long hours or have to do multiple things during, cater to a lot of people like yourself.
Yeah, no, and I love it because you can travel with it and it never creases, because blazers take up a lot of, I know, I get on take up like a lot of space in your suitcase. So this thing, like, you can roll it up and it comes out looking like literally, like you just have a suit bag. It's amazing. I totally love it. So, okay, so what would you say to someone then who wants to start a brand in today's retail environment? Because like, there's a lot of people right now that are probably off work or lost jobs and, you know, but have worked in retail for a long time and are thinking, you know, could they do it? And is it the right time? Like, what would you say to somebody then after going through what you've gone through?
I mean, I would absolutely, of course. I have so much experience working with different companies, like everything from Zara to H&M. I just have so much experience that has all led to this moment. So I have so many learning lessons already under my belt. And I think this is, if you listen to what Chip Wilson from Lululemon says, this is one of the hardest businesses to build because it's vertically integrated. You're designing and choosing fabrics, buttons, liners, everything, and you have order minimums. And so you have to be someone who really understands cash flow management and really understands product. Just got a shipment downstairs. They're just unpacking it. Is we immediately throw that jacket on so that we can make sure that it's synonymous with our size range right now. And so we keep.
Sorry, go ahead. I want to cut you
all
off.
of our products are consistent in size. Important metrics that we have is that if you're an extra small, you're an extra small.
Yeah, that matters. Especially if you're shopping online, right? Like if you choose that size is that size. So what are your two top, like, I know you've probably like got a ton of lessons and you could probably write a book on it. But like, if you were going to say, what are the top two things you've learned and you would give somebody advice on, what would it be? You talked a bit about cash management, but anything else?
Oh yeah, I got a big learning lesson.
Yeah.
So early in my career, I was self-employed, right? And so I had these amazing contracts with big retailers and was earning really great money and everything like that, but really was not managing my money. I was not paying the CRA and I was not paying. And so in about 2011, I learned a very big lesson, if you can imagine. And spent, my university job really did help me deal with that lesson because it was a 6-figure job.
Right.
That was probably my biggest learning lesson in business. Was I needed to figure out what I really hated about the business, because I'm not the kind of person who's going to force myself. I just want to find people. I'll pay people and find people. And so I learned that like paperwork management and all that kind of stuff, like I have a team of accountants. And then Rebecca, my business partner, like checks off every box that I don't. Right. So she, for inventory, they're doing inventory this morning after, like, give me 3 days in the store and it looks like a bomb went off. Like, it's not good. It's not good. I'm a disaster.
I think we can all relate to that money management. Just personal life. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm really good at it, and I've had good jobs, and I've learned that in the last year working for myself. Like Jane really like everything that's going on. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And so I'm not the best. And I like shopping because I work in retail, so I'm not the best.
Well, I'm standing in. They go along with my crazy ideas. I was like, Rebecca, I need to build a walk-in closet in our head office. And she's like, okay, cool. Like, she just goes to work and does it. So we spent $2,000 on like a walk-in closet for my designs. Like, I don't know. I think I'm so good at it now. Right. Because of that, right? Like, I'm a Nazi about making sure that we always have enough money for inventory and rent. So when this whole thing happened, we weren't struggling to pay rent. We had a reserve. We have reserve for months. And so we're in really great shape, which is really strange.
Tell us about your customers. So because you are on social media, and it's funny because I was reading on your website and it says Emily never does interviews, public speaking, or anything like that. And I was like, I felt quite honored that you were coming on your coffee chat, actually, because it says that you're an extreme introvert, but then you have this really amazing presence online with your social media and Instagram, because I follow you and it's really funny. And I'm sure that has an impact on your customers. So I want to hear about like that part of the strategy and like your customers and how that engagement happens. Because that's like, it's phenomenal to me that you do that, considering that you say you're such an introvert.
it's not that I've never done speaking. I actually have keynoted over 65 conferences,
Okay.
been on TV over 300 times. It's that while I was building the brand, everyone to talk about it, and I said, I'm building it. I have nothing to talk about. Like, I don't have any. I want to encourage people to be an entrepreneur because I do feel that it's part of the fabric of your brain. I do feel like you are or you aren't. Like, and if you are, it's a punishment sometimes, and you just are like constantly destroyed by it, right? Like you told me you're up at 7 o'clock in the morning mapping shit out. Like
that was me this morning. Yeah.
So I always say like that it's a little bit of a punishment, and that I don't out and talk about or encourage being an entrepreneur until I feel like we've really developed something that we can talk about. And also, I don't want to talk about our brand without talking about it in a 365-degree approach, because there's so much innovation and strategy in what we're doing. Stage on a panel talking about entrepreneurship, it just doesn't give like the respect to the sophistication of this brand.
Okay, got it. I totally get that. So that 360-degree, is that with the social media, with the customers? Like, what do you mean by that?
Everything. Okay, well, I think with social media, I'm very comfortable being on camera, and I really love that there isn't a whole lot of dialogue. Like there is, like people message me back, but there isn't a whole lot of like seeing people in person. So there's no energy drain, right? It's energy out, but there's no energy drain backwards. And so it's really good for me, and people love how crazy I am. Really.
You are crazy.
I'm pretty crazy. I'm a little bit weird.
I feel like I get to know you though. That's the thing. I feel like I know.
I'm the same person. Right? I'm the same person. People, when they come into our store, they're like, "Oh my God," and they're like, "Wow, I feel like I know you," and I'm the same person as I am online. And they're like, and they love that, right? There's no character. There's no production or facade. It's just like unproduced content. They love the struggles of the business. They love to know what we're going through and be a part of it. And our customers are so smart. They're the smartest people. And I never expected a brand to pluck out of society people who were just like me. And that's kind of, but you know, it just like, they're the smartest people. And I just am I never imagined that would happen. So
like I struggle with getting on Instagram Live. Like I honestly, being honest with you, struggled with starting coffee chats. So I was like, okay, we're going to do it. Somebody asked us to do it. And now we're on our 4th one and people keep joining and it keeps getting bigger. And I kind of struggle with that. And Elise, I saw you on an Instagram Live the other day doing like makeup tutorial, right? And it was awesome. It was so much fun actually watching you and your friend like do that makeup tutorial and talk about Mac. And I struggle with that. I'm totally in denial and resistance about getting on Instagram Live right now, right? So if we're all sitting here going, we know that there's an opportunity to promote our own brands, whether that's you work in a retail store and you want to recruit people, you work for a brand and you want to recruit people, or you have your own business or you're thinking about it. Like, what do we do to get over that? Because you're so good at it. Like, seriously.
Well, thank you. I would say that the term "your vibe attracts your vibe attracts your tribe" is very true, and you just have to like. I don't think about it. I don't think about myself. Have that internal. I think about strategy and things like that, but I don't go, well, was that like this? Did I care about that, or did I say this wrong? I believe in who I am more than anything. I believe in who I am. I believe that I'm a good person, and people are going to, and if they don't, they'll leave. And that's okay too, because I want, as you can see on our social media, on our have the highest engagement I've ever seen on a brand. I have, before this call, I had 27 DMs. I don't even know why. Not because I posted the onesie today. Like, it's the amount of engagement, and it's so valuable to us. We are like a community, but I think you have to stop the internal, just know and say, I know that I am a good person and I have the power to influence. And the power of influence should override that internal you down. And you just have to
that's a good
put
way.
it down.
That's a good way of looking at it. When I was in the John Maxwell coaching speaking training, he says one thing. He says, before you go and speak to people, ask yourself, what do they need to know? Not what do I need to say? And that's perspective of you and adding value to other people. And that kind of gets you out of that nervous mindset, you know? Okay, Jane, I'm just looking at time. So do you want to read some questions off?
Yep, we've got a question here from Paul. 3 pieces of advice you would have for someone who wants to start luxury selling? 3.
Well, that's the first piece that comes to mind is quality. Like, it's absolutely transparent when you try to sell things that are not of quality. And I would rather have one customer that's buying every piece from me than hundreds of customers. And they talk about the Meghan Markle effect, right? You should get your pieces on Meghan Markle. I don't necessarily want that, because that creates a demand for one single item for a very short amount of time and overloads our entire system. Thing for your company, but we're in the long-term game. And so if you're wanting to do a luxury brand, quality first. Second is experience. Like, I'll give you an example. Leather leggings on Salsbury-Deveaux day, we did $55, which is the lowest price point we have in our store, because we really wanted to take our time in development with them. They're really good, but we have first-time customers who live in Toronto that need to exchange size now. This morning, and we said, it doesn't matter, you've got to return them, even if it costs us $15, because our job is not the pleather leggings, our job is the customer experience. And we have less than 2% returns. Everybody's exchanging, and once they know their size, that's it. We know that they know their size in the brand. 2 is customer experience. I feel like that is obvious. If you want to start a luxury brand and you don't know that those 2 things are the most important, then you shouldn't start a luxury brand. Love you, but number 3 would be, if you're doing luxury, packaging. The luxury market is very, very important. We are not in luxury, okay? So even though I sell products, I still consider us to be in the mid to upper high, like more of an Aritzia kind of price point. And so we don't spend as much on packaging because we are a sustainable brand. And so we don't want, and we've just are starting to launch the next stage of being sustainable. And so we don't want really to have a ton of, but if we bring in a special product, then we do packaging for that product. So, you know, for this white leather jacket is $700. So it has its own box, it has its own ribbon, all experience.
Awesome.
Great. I've got another one here from Steve. And so this is actually kind of good. With people working from home, will you come up with a line for at-home comfort and still feel?
I would say that our line is built for at-home comfort anyways.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of basic products. I'm wearing like a bodysuit that we have. Like, we do a lot of really basic products, and our fabric is really luxurious and kind of almost like you wouldn't wear our blazers at home, but you'd wear our T-Kings, our joggers, we have a lot. We're kind of like the graduate program for Lululemon.
You know what? I was actually looking at this site yesterday, and I was like, if I could just work at home forever. I mean, we sell online learning, right? Which is not going to be my reality, because people always want me to show up and speak and do training live and all that good stuff. But if I was just gonna, like, I'm looking at my closet right now, and I was like, it's just this, in my last 6 weeks has been this existence. I could just buy every single piece from your site and just throw out everything that's in my closet and just replace it with all of Salsbury-Deveaux, and I'm like golden. Like, I have every single outfit I need, you know?
Well, I feel like it's an exact, like, it's kind of like a secret for women who are,
yeah.
It's the outfits are all comfortable, but
All
you look
comfortable.
really polished. So
Yeah.
it can be confusing. Yeah.
Okay, Steve just wants to add on to that, which is a really good point. What about the menswear? Have you ever thought about doing menswear?
Steve, it's the number one question that we get, Steve. It's the number one question we get is, when are we doing a men's line? When we had our Calgary store, our pop-up there, that was the number one question we got, because guys loved the way that we merchandised our store. It was very straightforward. That's one thing I have learned about the men's clothing industry, is that places like Marks, H&M, Zara, they overcomplicate it. Like, make it really simple and
All
straightforward.
the guys on the phone nodding like, yeah.
It's simple, straightforward. Like, these are the t-shirts, guys. And so then they're like, where's that same t-shirt I got? I really like that t-shirt. I want another one. And it's just places, especially like Mark's Work Warehouse, complicate it. And they do so much merchandising where the guy is like looking at the mannequin. He's like, I like those jeans, but like, where do I find those jeans? And they don't want to ask somebody for help. Like, that's just, and I think we've learned so much about, I don't want to speak for you guys, but about how to simplify and really make them stuff that, and is
So are you going to bring out a menswear line then?
Yeah, it's definitely in the work. It's definitely already in the works.
Amazing.
Especially the basic stuff, right? Like, like just really good fabrics. Like, I feel bad for you guys.
A really good white tee, you know, like
I feel
like,
really bad for you guys.
yeah, I have like a uniform in my closet. It's just navy blazers, black blazers, and white tees. Like, that's it. I'm like,
Well, and I've seen what's out there. Like, it's absolutely so trend driven, and it's there's brands like Uniqlo over here and Zara, and there isn't like a middle point, right? I mean, Jack and Jones tries to be in that middle space, but then they screw it up by changing their products so quickly and putting their name on everything. Stop putting your name on everything, you know? Like,
okay, Jane, any other questions?
Yeah, we have one from Ritesh here. And again, we keep touching on this every week because we're talking about post-COVID now again. And I think we did have it last week as well, but it's the luxury shopping. Do you think it's going to be a list of priority for the consumers when we open up? Do you think, or has it hurt you at all? How has it been for you, like during COVID?
Okay, well, we've ever had, but I think that we're just like in the place where that makes sense for us. Like, we can offer, like, we're right at this little tiny, very unique space where we have a lean team. We can ship fast. We can ship everything same day fulfillment wise. And we're just we were at the very right time, right place. People are looking for that quick fix, and we can get it to them within, like, even in Toronto, we can get it to you in like 2 days, 3 days. And so we're getting so much business from people who are getting that retail fix from us. And I think one of the biggest issues facing big brands, like I'll use La Vie en Rose, for example, or Aldo, is that so much of their fulfillment inventory is sitting in their locations. Yeah. And so they were shipping location to location, and customers like Aldo locked in a location right now. So you are struggling to change your fulfillment structure, figure out how can you get your inventory, where are you going to get it. And so we just happen to be at the very right time, right place and time. I don't know anything about the luxury industry. I myself am not a luxury buyer. I am very, like, I am more of a minimalist behavior. I care more about having one blazer than having a lot of stuff. So I'm not a shopper. And so I don't really know that I can comment too much on the luxury industry because we're not luxury. I would not consider us luxury.
And I think that a lot of people may come out of this like needing less. So say this all the time, right? People are evaluating, because when you have to look at, like, even me, right? Like, I'm not traveling every week. I'm not doing what I was doing before. And so you start looking at, like, what you're spending, what you said at the beginning about learning about financial management, what you're spending, what you need, and you're going, yeah. And then it also takes, we always say, whenever we do any leadership training or anything like that, it takes 30 days to change a behavior. We've all been in our houses longer than 30 days now. So some of our behaviors may change in shopping. Like before it was like, I'd buy this, I'd buy that. Now it's like, oh, I don't really need it as much. And you're starting to kind of digest that. So that might change the way people buy luxury, or it might make people say, I want that one blazer, I'm willing to spend more on it and just buy less of like 20 other things. I don't know. Cause I've worked in luxury once when I worked at Holt Renfrew, but I was in the off-price division. So it was a little bit different. Like, I'm not a luxury purchaser either. Like, I like good things. But I don't want to, you know, I don't want to spend money on something. Oh, I can't.
Yeah, time, because we were actually set to launch our buyback program, which has also never been. So our buyback program is essentially, we will buy back our pieces from you that you're not wearing. So we're that confident in our product and our pieces that we will buy it back from you for up to 50% of what you paid. And obviously it goes into a gift, like you get it as a gift card for Salsbury-Deveaux, but we're gonna buy it back and start an entire secondary business called ED Buyback, which is basically we're buying a gift card and controlling our secondary market. So companies like Lululemon lose millions to their secondary markets, okay? There's thousands of Lululemon swap pages, buy and sell pages, Aritzia pages, and so market. And consignment stores they sell at 50% of the value, and they only offer you less than that. So we're coming in higher than consignment, giving you that incentive to bring it, spend that money on different products, because maybe your habits is changing, and it's just the perfect time for us to do it.
I think it's smart. You're always getting ahead of stuff. Like Facebook Marketplace is probably, or those resellers are probably the fastest segment growing. Like ThredUp is an online thrift, right, in the States. Yeah. And that's like $1 billion. It does major money. So thrift and like even the generation, like I have a 23-year-old daughter, and she will only shop from a thrift store intentionally for sustainability purposes. Like, she won't support buying other things. It's funny, now she's dyeing things with food purpose dye. She's got this. It's
my belief that these customers are two different customers.
Yeah.
The people who are going to be browsing the buyback website and the people who purchase our product from us. There's a little bit of overlap, but there's one group that's going to be wanting to find those pieces. Yeah. And we're just, current website, we have stock when it's out of stock. So we actually can play matchmaker on what we know is people are looking for with pieces that are, it's like
super smart.
It like brings me so much joy.
I can't wait to do that. I'm just looking at time. It's 1:40. Jane, is there any other questions?
Yeah, we just have a comment here from Christy. She's asking, are you going to keep your price point the same as you grow your business? Because getting more popular, then the price point starts to go up. Are you not going to do that, or what is your
Yeah, my intention is always to price it based on what our cost ends up being. So for example, dollars, and the cost of freight has gone up in the pandemic. So right now we're not adjusting anything, we're just taking that hit because we expect that it's going to come back around. The longer that happens, the more we have to consider those circumstances in our business. So based on, I don't need to sell a blazer for $600. I would rather get, like, to me, that's just not reasonable. Like, I don't need to do that. So why would we do that? We'd rather have that blazer in more people's hands. Like, it's a good jacket, and that's really why we want it in people's hands. So I don't see that happening, maybe marginally, but not anything super drastic.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, pricing and how you price things, right? Like, we always struggle with that at retailu, like with the courses. We're like, we could charge them more, but we just don't want to.
No, yeah, I don't need to.
Affordable,
yeah. I just want people to, I know, I look at a lot of times, like, for example, we have this onesie coming in, or that we want to order, but because of the amount of fabric, it's quite an expensive product. And I have to sit there and ask myself, like, am I going to pay this for that? Like, The answer is yes, because of I know Rebecca hasn't taken it off, and I know that it's a good product. She wore it to the airport today to get stock. Like, I don't even know, so it hasn't come off. So I know that it's a good product, especially because she's doing that. And so I think there's a lot of factors that we weigh. We don't just order things blindly. We're very, very, very strategic and analytical about what we order and when we order it.
Yeah. So I'm looking at time. It's 1:43, so a couple of minutes left because we usually wrap up about 1:45, right? I've got a question for you. What is one thing you would tell your younger self?
I read this question. So I think most people would look back and they would tell their younger self, like, it would make, like, you want to change something. I was so badass. I'm sorry. Like, I don't understand how I was so scared of having friends. Like, I don't really have friends, really. Like, I have people who I know, but I was so scared of, like, social life when I was younger, just because being bullied and stuff like that. And so I was terrified of, like, hanging out with somebody on a Saturday night, but I was absolutely not scared of going into a retailer and being like, I planned out your store. I did a whole report on your store traffic. You should buy this from me for $300 at the age of 16. And I probably came from my dad, but younger self. And I'm like, man, like, good for you for all the hours and all the shit you did to learn everything that you did on what you're doing now, because if you had a social life, you wouldn't. I still don't have a social life. I don't. And so I think I'm just so proud of that I took every opportunity and even though I hated things sometimes, I just accepted that. Like, I've been to New York and Toronto tons. I hate both places a lot. I'm a West Coast, like, California girl, but with a New York style. Like, I'm a contemporary hippie. It's confusing. And every time I go to Toronto, I'm like, why do I keep coming here? And I love you guys, but, like, Edmonton is shitty, yes, but it's 20 degrees and we have like, I just, I have a hard time. I'm like, I would have a farm. I'm a weird, like, contemporary hippie. That's the best way to put it. So, as you can tell from, like, the leather jacket and the hair, guys, I don't know. I think, yeah, I'm just really proud of, and I think people need to spend more time being proud of themselves instead of so critical and just being like, wow, like, look what I'm doing, you know?
I like that. If I think about what I would tell my younger self, I think I would say the same thing. I think, like, I would say, you know, go into retail, work really hard, follow your passion, and just always continue to help people, which is what I did. I think maybe I would have told myself to, like, be more disciplined, like, have more routine and discipline in my life in certain areas, because I've got that as I've grown up. But, like, you know, like, I was raised in England by 2 American hippies, so I was always confused when I was a kid and never fit in anywhere.
People really need to give themselves a break. You know, you need to give yourself a break, especially now. Everybody has so much time. They're like, I should be working out more. I should be reading all these books. We're all going through a sense of grief and trauma right now. Like, we're going through the biggest change management of our lives, yet we're, like, demanding so much of ourselves. I drank wine before we did this, and just so you know, we're 2 hours ahead of you. So it was 10:22 in the morning, guys. I am introverted, so I had to do that, right? But I think I don't put pressure on myself. If I don't want to do anything, I don't do it. Like, but most of the time I do want to do stuff, so it helps.
The last question, because we all love retail. I know when Elise was on, we were like, heart retail, we all love it. So what is your favorite thing about working in retail?
Okay, I've tried to be able to put this into, like, describe my love for retail, and I think hopefully you'll all be able to relate to this. Is I feel like it's the only industry where you can see the direct results of your actions. So you can see like that you've done something and it's impacted the business unit in a particular way. And so if you leave retail and go to work, let's just say in a different job where you're part of such a bigger picture and you don't feel like you're impacting, those people always get drawn back to retail because you always feel like I helped with that, or I was responsible for that grand opening, or I hired those people, or like, and that's kind of what I think about it.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. I am a results-driven person, and I like to see what I'm doing, and then it turned into a result like right away. And I think the retailers I've been blessed to work with have allowed me to have that entrepreneurial spirit and actually contribute in such a way. Even when I was at Gap Inc., they were very structured, but I was allowed to be part of a group of core managers that were able to shape the way things move forward in the future. So I think that was just really cool, and just the people that we get to work with. Awesome. All right. Well, we're wrapping up our 4th coffee chat. It was so great to talk to you, Emily. It was awesome to learn all about your business. And I've got one last thing for you guys this week. It's a quote before we head out. So it says, "Nothing shapes our lives so much as the questions we ask, refuse to ask, or never dream of asking." I was reading that this morning and I was like, isn't that the truth, right? Like if we don't ask questions, or we refuse to ask questions, or we never dream of asking those questions, we will never shape our lives in such a way, because you only get answers to the questions you ask. I tell people that all the time. So thank you so much, Emily, for being our guest on our podcast chat. Thank you to everybody for joining. I hope you have a great week. Smiling faces, stay positive, and hopefully we'll see you on another one of these sometime soon.
Great to see and meet some of you.
Thank you.
Next week.
Bye.
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 Okay, stay on.
Say Robin's on still. She's on. Let me just
Get rid of Robin. She can.
I removed her. Did I remove her? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm trying to remove her. Can't remove her.
I'll try.
There you go. Oh, God bless her. You have to remove her too.
It was Elise. Elise was like, I'm going like, what's she doing? I mean, she needs to sit down, like, or get up. I said, did you realise that people consider so me and Elise, and that's why I kept laughing, because Elise kept messaging me, and I'm like, I don't want to laugh, I don't want to laugh, but.
Should I end this so that I don't have to, well, it's going to keep recording. Hold on, let me just pause the recording so that I can